Alex and Emily were supposed to spend the rest of their lives together, but one night, a quiet drive turned into a chilling mystery that no one could explain. Alex and Emily had been married for only 3 months, but in that short time, their friends and family described them as inseparable, two souls perfectly attuned to each other. They were young, vibrant, and full of plans for the future, from starting a family to traveling the world. Their lives seemed ordinary on the surface, filled with work, hobbies, and small daily routines, yet there was an unmistakable energy about them, a sense that they were living fully and chasing happiness wherever it could be found. The night of their deaths began like many other evenings, quiet and unremarkable. They decided to take a drive in Emily's silver sedan, a gift from Alex for their first wedding anniversary, hoping to enjoy the crisp October air and the turning colors of the trees along the rural roads outside the city. The couple left their home around 7 in the evening, both smiling and talking softly as they drove away from the lights of the city and into the calm, shadowy countryside. The road they chose was narrow and winding, flanked on either side by dense woods and open fields. It was known to locals as a quiet, almost deserted stretch that few travelers used after sunset. Alex drove carefully, hands gripping the steering wheel, while Emily sat beside him, her eyes scanning the landscape and occasionally pointing out the beauty of the fading light. They laughed at small jokes, reminisced about their wedding, and spoke about plans for the coming weeks. It was the kind of drive that seemed timeless, a perfect escape from the monotony of daily life. Yet, for reasons no one could understand, this night would not end in a return home. Hours later, as the moon rose higher in the sky, a passing motorist noticed the silver sedan parked awkwardly on the side of the road. At first, the driver assumed it was a simple breakdown, but the lack of movement and the unusual stillness of the car caught attention. Police arrived quickly after a call was made, only to discover a scene that would shock the community. Alex and Emily were found slumped in the front seats, lifeless, their faces pale in the dim light. There were no outward signs of struggle, no broken glass, no evidence of a collision, and no indication that anyone else had been in the car with them. The windows were tightly rolled up, the engine was off, and the interior of the vehicle was eerily intact, as if the couple had simply stopped breathing in the middle of their drive. Investigators combed the area, searching for footprints, tire tracks, or any clue that could explain how a young, healthy couple could meet such a sudden end. There was nothing. The surrounding woods were undisturbed, the road was empty, and no one reported hearing any unusual noises or disturbances in the hours leading up to the discovery. Their phones, purses, and personal belongings were all untouched, leaving authorities without the usual threads of evidence. Friends and neighbors were devastated, struggling to reconcile the picture of happiness and love with the chilling reality of their deaths. Rumors and theories began to circulate almost immediately, ranging from an accident to more sinister possibilities, yet none could be confirmed. The inexplicable nature of the scene left everyone with a sense of unease, and as investigators documented every detail of the car, the quiet night seemed to deepen the mystery rather than illuminate it. The questions loomed larger than the answers, and the sense of something profoundly wrong hung heavy over the abandoned road where the newlyweds' lives had ended. The investigation into Alex and Emily's deaths began immediately, and authorities approached the case with intense scrutiny, aware that the circumstances were unlike anything they had encountered before. Forensic teams meticulously combed the silver sedan, photographing every detail and examining every inch of the interior. The seats, floor mats, and dashboard were all inspected, but nothing seemed out of place. There were no fingerprints beyond those of the couple, no signs of forced entry, and no evidence of any weapon or object that could have caused harm. It was as if they had simply stopped breathing in the middle of their drive, leaving the investigators grasping for explanations that made sense. The more they examined the scene, the more elusive the answers became. Toxicology reports offered the first tangible clue, though it was far from conclusive. Both Alex and Emily tested positive for a rare chemical not commonly found outside industrial settings. It was a compound usually associated with chemical laboratories and specialized manufacturing, not residential or public areas. The levels in their bloodstream were small but enough to be fatal, and there was no known source nearby that could account for exposure. Investigators scoured the surrounding region for any possible contamination, but found nothing. Their home, workplaces, and the stretch of road where they had been found showed no trace of the substance. It was a mystery how such a chemical had reached them, and the absence of any clear delivery method added another layer of confusion. Authorities also reviewed security footage from roads leading to the area. Cameras positioned along major routes and even some secondary roads were checked repeatedly, yet none captured anything unusual. No other vehicles appeared to stop near the scene, and there was no sign of anyone approaching or leaving the area at the time of the couple's deaths. It was as if they had been completely alone, untouched by the presence of another person. Even their last movements on digital devices offered no answers. Their phones showed normal activity. Texts to friends and family, routine social media checks, nothing that hinted at fear, conflict, or impending danger. Investigators interviewed friends, co-workers, and relatives, hoping to uncover motives or leads that might explain the incident. Everyone painted the same picture. Alex and Emily were joyful, considerate, and deeply connected to one another. There were no known enemies, no outstanding disputes, no unusual behavior leading up to that night. Their routines had been ordinary, and their social lives had shown no signs of interruption or threat. Yet the chemical in their system and the stillness of their bodies suggested something extraordinary had occurred. As days turned into weeks, theories circulated among the investigative team. Some suggested accidental exposure to an unknown chemical along the road, perhaps from nearby farmland or abandoned industrial sites. Others feared a more sinister explanation, a deliberate act, an undetectable poisoning, or a quiet intervention by someone unknown. But with no witnesses, no evidence, and no clear connection to anyone who could have harmed them, the case only deepened in its complexity. Each passing day without answers added pressure, leaving the authorities and the community alike grappling with a chilling thought. 2 young lives had ended suddenly and mysteriously, and no one could yet explain why. As investigators delved deeper into Alex and Emily's lives, they began to uncover small details that had gone unnoticed at first. On the surface, their routines were ordinary, their jobs typical, and their social circles small but close-knit. Yet hidden beneath this normality were subtle traces of secrecy, small inconsistencies that hinted at something unusual. Emily, in particular, had received a series of anonymous letters in the weeks leading up to her death. They were brief, cryptic, and unsettling, each one warning her to stay away from certain people without giving any explanation or identifying who might be a threat. She had kept the letters to herself, showing none to Alex or her family, and no one could determine their origin. Investigators tracked down the postmarks and handwriting, but the results offered nothing. No leads, no fingerprints, and no identifiable sender. Alex, meanwhile, had made several unexplained cash withdrawals from his bank account in the month before their deaths. The amounts were substantial and did not align with any known purchases or expenses, leaving financial records scattered with questions. Bank officials confirmed there were no irregularities or alerts on the accounts, yet the withdrawals remained a mystery. Friends recalled that Alex and Emily had recently seemed distracted, preoccupied with minor concerns that never escalated into anything serious. They laughed, smiled, and appeared happy in public, but some noticed a quiet tension in private, as if they were hiding something from the world. Authorities also looked into the couple's social circles, examining friends, co-workers, and acquaintances for potential threats or conflicts. Nothing stood out at first. Everyone described them as kind, generous, and well-liked. Yet, as investigators dug further, they discovered subtle connections that raised questions. Emily had attended a seminar in the city a few weeks before their deaths, and while it seemed harmless, the seminar had been linked to an unusual network of people involved in scientific experiments and private research projects. Alex had volunteered to help with community projects, some of which involved working near industrial facilities. But again, there was no clear link to his death. These fragments of information hinted at something larger and more obscure, but the pieces did not yet fit together. The more detectives learned about Alex and Emily, the more complicated the picture became. There were no enemies, no apparent motives, and no signs that anyone close to them had harbored ill intent. Yet their lives were touched by subtle, unexplained events. A phone call from an unknown number, an unexpected delivery at their home, small interactions that on their own seemed insignificant, but when combined, painted a picture of hidden interference. Investigators began to suspect that the couple had encountered something or someone powerful enough to affect their lives in silence, leaving no obvious trail or warning. As the case progressed, the tension in the community grew. Friends and family struggled to reconcile the idea of a happy young couple with the unsettling reality of their deaths. The questions multiplied. Who was behind the letters Emily received? What were the unexplained withdrawals for? And most pressing of all, how could two healthy individuals die so suddenly and mysteriously without a visible cause? Each new detail raised further uncertainty, deepening the sense that Alex and Emily had been caught in circumstances far beyond ordinary comprehension. The investigation moved forward slowly, with every lead examined, every shadow of possibility pursued, but answers remained elusive, and the mystery continued to grow darker. Then an unexpected lead broke through the seemingly impenetrable mystery. A witness came forward weeks after the couple's deaths, reporting something unusual seen on the night of the tragedy. They had noticed a large, dark van parked near the road where Alex and Emily were later found. The vehicle had been there for several hours, its windows tinted and license plate partially obscured. The witness had initially dismissed it as ordinary, assuming it belonged to a local resident or someone traveling late. But after seeing news reports of the deaths, they realized the van's presence might have been connected. Police traced the partial plate number, but it led to a dead end, either a fake registration or a vehicle long removed from official records. Following this lead, investigators examined properties in the vicinity that could be connected to the van. Their search eventually led them to an abandoned chemical plant on the outskirts of the city, a crumbling facility long closed but still intact enough to house equipment and storage. When authorities entered the plant, they found containers holding the same rare chemical that had been detected in Alex and Emily's bloodstreams. Protective masks, lab coats, and specialized equipment indicated that someone had been actively experimenting there, testing substances that were highly controlled and dangerous. The facility had been hidden in plain sight, a place forgotten by the community but still capable of harboring clandestine operations. The discovery of the plant raised chilling questions. Had Alex and Emily stumbled upon this operation by accident? Were they deliberately exposed, or had they been victims of circumstance? The chemical found in their bodies could have been administered without leaving any visible marks, and the level in their systems suggested exposure over a short period. Investigators considered multiple scenarios. The couple might have inhaled fumes from the van, unknowingly entered the area while driving, or been targeted by someone monitoring the road. Yet the absence of witnesses, fingerprints, or clear evidence of tampering meant that none of these theories could be confirmed. Authorities also re-examined the couple's movements in light of this new discovery. Security camera footage from nearby roads was reviewed again, looking specifically for signs of the van or any unusual behavior near the plant. Though visibility was limited, there were fleeting shadows and unidentifiable shapes that, while inconclusive, suggested someone or something had been following the couple. It was the first time a tangible connection appeared between the deaths and a potential source of the chemical. Yet even with this breakthrough, the case remained shrouded in uncertainty. The plant provided clues, but no suspects, no motive, and no clear explanation of why the couple had been targeted, or if they had been at all. The revelation of the chemical plant added both clarity and terror to the investigation. It confirmed that the deaths were not entirely natural, that an external force had played a role. But it also made the mystery deeper, suggesting a level of planning and secrecy far beyond ordinary criminal activity. Alex and Emily's lives had intersected with something dangerous and hidden, and the questions surrounding their final hours grew heavier. Every discovery seemed to open more doors than it closed, and the sense of a vast, unseen presence in their last night hung over the case like a shadow. The path forward was uncertain. The answers tantalizingly close, yet frustratingly out of reach, and the mystery continued to grip everyone involved. Despite the discovery of the chemical plant, the mystery of Alex and Emily's deaths remained unsolved. Investigators worked tirelessly, following every lead and re-examining every detail, but the case continued to defy explanation. The van seen that night was never located, and the chemical plant yielded no fingerprints, no notes, and no records that could point to a responsible party. It was as if someone had meticulously erased all traces of their involvement, leaving only the couple as lifeless bodies as evidence of a tragedy that no one could fully comprehend. Authorities were left with fragments of information: letters, withdrawals, shadows on cameras, and containers of a rare chemical, but no coherent narrative. The community, meanwhile, struggled to come to terms with the deaths. Friends and family were haunted by the thought that Alex and Emily O's final night had been ordinary until it was an way. People who had known them described sleepless nights spent replaying their last interactions, trying to find a clue or a warning they might have missed. The quiet road where the couple had been found became the subject of hushed conversations, a place that seemed to hold its own secrets, untouched by time, yet marked forever by the unknown events of that night. Rumors flourished, from accidental poisoning to secret experiments and deliberate targeting, but none were confirmed. As months passed, law enforcement continued to monitor leads but made little progress. The chemical plant was secured and investigated further, but there was no evidence of ongoing activity or a responsible party. The van remained untraceable, leaving authorities with only partial information about what had transpired. Some experts speculated that Alex and Emily might have inadvertently encountered someone conducting experiments in secret, exposed to chemicals in a way that left no trace except in their own bodies. Others suggested the possibility of an entirely different scenario, something so subtle and precise that it would leave almost no evidence behind. The more the case was studied, the more it seemed that the couple had been caught in circumstances beyond ordinary understanding. Memories of Alex and Emily lingered in the minds of those who knew them. Their laughter, their plans, and their energy were frozen in time, preserved only in photographs, social media posts, and the stories of friends and relatives. The tragic and inexplicable nature of their deaths created a sense of unease that extended beyond their immediate circle, touching the community with a quiet fear that even the most ordinary moments could be disrupted by forces beyond comprehension. The questions surrounding their deaths, how it happened, why it happened, and who, if anyone, was responsible, remained unanswered, leaving a void filled with speculation and dread. Ultimately, the case of Alex and Emily became a haunting enigma. Two lives ended abruptly, leaving behind grief, confusion, and a trail of mysteries that refused to resolve. The chemical plant, the van, the letters, and the unexplained cash withdrawals hinted at a hidden narrative, but no investigation could reveal it fully. Their deaths served as a reminder that some tragedies cannot be neatly explained, that life can be disrupted by forces hidden from view, and that answers are not always within reach. Alex and Emily's story remained suspended in uncertainty, a chilling testament to the fragility of life and the unknowable dangers that may lie in the shadows, waiting silently along an otherwise ordinary road.